Our experience of sledging along a road terribly broken up, owing to the immense traffic and almost endless string of sledges carrying heavy loads of goods to the annual Siberian fair, held in February, will be repeated in your case, dear reader, if you ever undertake a similar journey to Siberia at a corresponding period. Bump, jolt, over huge frozen lumps of snow and into holes, and up and down those dreadful waves and furrows made by the traffic. Such is the stimulating motion you will have to submit to for a few thousand miles. Your head seems to belong to every part of the sledge. It is first bumped against the top, then the conveyance gives a lurch, and you get an unexpected knock against the side. Then you cross one of the ruts, and first, you are thrown violently forward against the driver, and second, you just as quickly rebound. This sort of motion is all very well for a few miles, but after a time it gets too monotonously trying. You ache from head to foot, you are bruised all over, your poor brain throbs until you give way to a kind of hysterical outcry. Your headgear gets displaced, your temper, naturally, becomes slightly ruffled, and you are ready to gasp from so frequently clutching at the sides to save yourself. Added to all this is the constant yelling of the driver, who thinks it one of the paramount duties of his calling to make a noise above the ringing of the sledge bells. So you go on merrily, the horses dashing along like the steeds in a fire engine, or like the hot-blooded beauties of Phaethon. The yelling of your Jehu increases in volume when you tear through villages, alarming poor folk who clear off, helter-skelter, pell-mell, with knitted brows and muttered observations. All the dogs, roused from their peaceful pursuits, surround you, forming a lively escort, barking, growling, fighting and jumping snappishly at the horses' heads. Night comes on apace, to soften your feelings with a lowered temperature and the pleasing suggestions that darkness brings. Still on you merrily go, but oh, for 5 minutes' peace. Bumping, jolting, tossing, heaved, pitched and thumped. Bright memories of asphalt, blockwood and penny omnibuses spring up to diversify your thoughts. Little gleams of light, which you pass on your way, seem to come from tiny hut windows in the forest. "Driver," Yemstchik, shouts your companion, "can't we stop a minute at one of those huts?" "Eh, what, madam?" "Chevo Barienya?" "Those huts where the lights are. Can't we rest there?" "Lights? They're wolves." "Eta serie poshli." "Oh." You know you can't go faster, or you would certainly urge the driver to quicken the pace. Warily you try to peep round to see if those little gleaming eyes are close at the rear. And now your Jehu makes a mighty spurt. Slash, slash goes the whip. Thud, thud go the reins on the horse's flanks. "Little doves, little sisters," are the coaxing epithets the man addresses to the tired creatures, mixed with his wild yells. You have a vague idea that the appointed place for halting cannot be far distant. Jehu begins to want his vodka. You long for the sight of the singing samovar and a nice snug warm room with feather bed, well-aired sheets and, perhaps, a warming pan. And the horses seem to sniff their supper from afar, so on they wildly go, snorting and foaming, until at last, at the post station, you pull up sharp. The samovar is a kind of urn, with charcoal underneath for heating the water. You are then, in a semi-comatose state, dragged from the sledge, and, on gaining a footing, you feel more like a battered old log of mahogany than a gently nurtured Englishwoman. And now, dear reader, let me introduce you to your somewhat primitive hotel. But have patience. The key must first of all be found, and then candles and matches. Have your pocket handkerchief ready, if you can find it, and place it close to your nostrils the moment the door is opened. The hinges creak, and your first greeting is a gust of hot, fetid air, which almost sends you back, but you remember the cold outside and the cravings of hunger, and so you go in.